the structure of a 26-episode The metastructure, the world. Any ranger who served on multiple teams is locked to their original team, e.g., Tommy is exclusively with Mighty Morphin. There are vacant seats on later teams. The weight of the crown. The setting, the ether chamber of the Morphin emissaries. The visuals are high contrast, cinematic, and dark, reminiscent of the Shattered Grid art style. The red, blue, and pink emissaries stand around a glowing pool of liquid light, the raw essence of the grid. The government of the stars is failing, the red emissary intones. The timeline is a Gordian knot. We must find the prime thread. The call is sent, the blue emissary responds. Angel Grove, present day, composite timeline. Jason Lee Scott is teaching a martial arts class. He stops mid-kick. His vision blurs. He sees a vision of the Necrosword, the blade that exists before the light. He remembers the Omega mission, the Gold Zeo power, and the weight of being the first. Across the city, Tom Oliver is at a grave.
Okay. Okay. Redo all of it. For the love of God, unless I told you to put it in the specific conversation we are already having. All of our conversations aren't one long big conversation. Just take it out unless I told you in a pre-established battle we already are talking about that it's in there. It's not in there. It's just not. But keeping all of that in mind, and you still be doing this from the start, with everything else in mind, I do want you to add in all random artifacts that why the fuck is the one roof in all the game and not have a fucking chest on it?
Understood. The slate is wiped clean of the Necrosword. This is a pure, high-stakes, multiversal war, driven by the Power Rangers' own artifacts and the raw power of the Morphin Grid. We are starting the 26-episode epic, Morphin Genesis, the Omniversal Tournament. The prologue, the decree of the emissaries. The screen is a deep, cosmic violet. We see the Council of Emissaries, the red, blue, and pink entities, floating in the center of the Omniversal Nexus. They aren't just watchers, they are the government of the grid. The timelines are bleeding into one another. The red emissaries
Yo, come on now, load out money!
Stabilize the grid. We must determine the
Why would you like that?
The evil spirit is strong enough to hold the multiverse together. With a sweep of their hands, they pull the plateau into existence. It is a terrifying, endless seascape that shifts every few miles. You see the industrial grime of Corinth, the floating islands of Anna Maria, and the suburban sprawl of Angel Grove, all stitched together into a World War-sized map. Episode 1, The Call of the Grid, Angel Grove, 1993, the peak timeline. The music.
See that's literally why you let that shit happen. So now I have to get stuck in this fucking war. This match isn't gonna end when we get in the fucking loadout.
He has the memories of every
that makes no sense.
Omega mission, the Gold Zeo era. He is the composite Jason. He senses the ripple in the air. Across the park, Tommy Oliver stands. Tommy has the combined memories of the Green Ranger's burden, the White Ranger's leadership, and his time as a mentor. He is the composite legend. It's happening, isn't it? Tommy asks. The grid is calling us home, Jason replies. A white light consumes them. They materialize on the plateau. Around them, every Power Ranger team in history is appearing in a military-grade formation. The tournament structure and roster. The rules. 1, 2 stops. Every Ranger has 2 lives. Once both are depleted, knockout or power exhaustion, they are teleported to the spectator void. 2, artifact spawns. Periodically, the emissaries spawn grid relics. Artifacts like the Savage Sword, the Saba Blade, the Dino Gems, or Corona Aurora Jewels. These act as Smash Bros-style power-ups that can temporarily grant God-tier abilities. 3, the rule of the 6, no duplicates. Tommy and Jason stay with Mighty Morphin. Their spots on later teams are filled by 6th Rangers, e.g. Trey of Triforia leads the Zeo powers. Trent Mercer leads the Dino Thunder Vanguard. The main teams, Mighty Morphin, Composite, Jason, Zach, Trini, Billy, Kimberly, Tommy. The Shadow Empire, led by Lord Drakon, the Tyrant Tommy, and his sentries, allied with the Psycho Rangers and the A-Squad SPD, the Global Resistance. Every other team, from Zeo to Cosmic Fury, all at their peak, end-of-series composite forms. Episode 2, the first drop, the smash bombs. The plateau expands. The blue emissary's voice booms across the horizon.
Hey, redo that. Start from episode 2, and I want to break this down one by one for each episode, act by act. And I want it to be like 10 acts for each episode.
This is the slow burn you asked for. We are diving into the thick of the Omniversal War. The animation style is a blend of the grit from the 1995 movie and the high-octane, weight-heavy combat.
You like fucking irritating, you know? Together initially, everybody's just going at it while the emissaries watch, and screens that are broadcasting this from across the multiverse to each one of these teams' home planet, so they could all be cheered on and watched as this happens.
Switching mags.
So,
This is the methodical, slow burn epic of the Morphin Genesis. We are moving through episode 2, broken into 10 distinct parts. The tone is heavy, cinematic, and gritty. Atmosphere. The music is a blend of Hans Zimmer-style brass and the tribal, driving percussion of Power Rangers, 2017. The sky is a bruised violet, and the Infinite Plateau has just finished its violent expansion. Episode 2, The Sovereign Spark. 1. The Broadcast of Walls. The sky above the plateau ripples. Massive, translucent grid screens ignite across the atmosphere. Simultaneously, in every timeline, from 1993 Angel Grove to the year 2000, these screens appear in city centers. The people of the multiverse.
why wouldn't you just shoot them?
They see their champions. The emissaries speak in a voice that transcends language. Asterisk, witness the ages. Only one team remains to anchor the grid. Act 2, the logic of the balance. The camera pans across the ancient city. Because every ranger is lost to their original team, the landscape is a chaotic mosaic. Tommy Oliver stands with the Mighty Morphin crew. TJ stands with the Turbo team. There are no alliances. The government of the grid has stripped away the peace. It is now a pure struggle for survival. Act 3, the first artifact spawn. A streak of golden light.
No, hold on, redo all of that. But the first artifact shouldn't spawn until at least the fucking second or third, fourth, fifth episode. This just started. I need some 1v1s on teams. I need one team to run up on another team that you wouldn't expect. Like, I need the original Power Rangers to run up on the Power Rangers Lost Galaxy or Power Rangers in Space, and I need some red versus black, or random members of the team versus each other from the perspective of all of them.
Conflict is tense, and the Arrow Wars begin. The crowds across the multiverse are screaming at their screens as the Mighty Morphin.
I want you to take this logic and apply that to episode 2 and every episode going forward of this season that we talking about for this. Until I tell you otherwise. Come here. Olive. Me. Olive Garden. Olive branch. Olive oil. Olive.
This is the grind. The slow burn intensifies as the government of the grid watches the tactical breakdown of its most elite soldiers. We are diving back into the meat of the tournament. Episode 2, The Friction of Legacies. Setting, the sector of glass, a sprawling infinite cityscape where every building is made of reflective, reinforced permaglass. The broadcast. On the screens above, the citizens of Terra Venture and Angel Road watch in hushed silence. Act 1, The Collision of Command. The Mighty Morphin team is moving through the glass sector. They aren't looking for a fight. They're hunting for the Savage Sword artifact that just spawned. Suddenly, a red streak of light is up there. Standing there is the in-space team. Andros has his spiral saber guard. Jason, Andros says, his voice clears. I respect the history, but your team is too old school for this. Step aside. 2. Red versus red.
And I don't want each act to be one level of dialogue, and I don't want every act to be one level of dialogue. I mean, I want this to be some Hollywood level acts. I need scenes, dialogue, action sequences. I mean, awesome action sequences. I mean, peak Sakuga animation action sequences. And I don't want the first artifact to spawn until I say otherwise also. You know what? You're doing a terrible job at choosing when to add it in there.
The slow burn stops here, and the fire starts. No artifacts yet. No government tools here. Just raw, heat composite warriors colliding in a hyper-realistic, high-budget animation style. Episode 2, The Red Line. Setting, the sector of glass, an infinite graveyard of skyscrapers that look like Angel Grove, but are built from the chrome steel of the in-space era. The sun is a dying red aura, casting long, jagged shadows. Act 1, The Stalking. The music is the low, thrumming heartbeat. No lyrics. Just tension. The Mighty Morphin team moves through the 40th floor of a shattered office building. Jason is at the front, his movements silent, predatory. He signals for a halt. Below them, in the street, a blue and white streak flashes. The Astro team, Zach whispers, checking his battle axe. They're tactical. They fight like a unit. His eyes are scanning the in-space ranger below. Jason doesn't hesitate. Then we break their formation. Go. 2. The tempo. The enemy team doesn't use spares. They shatter the floor-to-ceiling glass and free-fall 40 stories. In the street, Andros, in space red, senses the displacement of air. He spins, pulling his spiral saber. Contact! Andros yells. The NN team hits the pavement in a shockwave impulse. Jason is already mid-air. A flying knee aims directly at Andros' head. Andros parries with the hilt of the saber, the impact sounding like a sledgehammer hitting an anvil. Act 3, red versus red, Jason versus Thunder. The animation frame rate spikes. This is the Sakuga moment. Jason isn't the standard ranger. He's the composite red, using a mix of Omega-level strength and street brawl intensity. Andros is the space ape, fast, using low-gravity loops to stay out of Jason's reach. Andros, you're out of your time, Scott. This isn't 1993 anymore. Jason, voice deep, rattling the helmet. The grid doesn't have a clock, Andros. It just has heartbeat, and yours is compact. Jason catches the spiral saber mid-swing with his bare palm. The spark spray illuminates the target and delivers a crushing headbutt that cracks Andros' helmet. Act 4, the Black Contrast. Zack versus Carlos. In the background, Zack is dancing. It's the hip-hop keto involved. It looks like capoeira mixed with MMA. He's fighting Carlos in Space Black. Carlos is using the lunar lance, trying to keep distance. Zack, you're too stiff, kid. You're fighting the weapon, not the man. Zack ducks under a sweep, plants his hands, and launches a double kick that sends Carlos through the side of an armored transport. Act 5, the tactical shift. TJ, in Space Blue, tries to provide cover fire with his Astro Blaster, but he's intercepted by Billy. This isn't the Billy from Season 1. This is the Billy who lived on Avatar, the genius flipper. I've marked your firing patterns, TJ. You're efficient, but I'm predictive. Billy uses his power lance to pole vault over TJ, kicking the blaster out of his hand midair. Act 6, the unseen hunter. High guard on the rooftop, Tommy, Mighty Morphin Green, white composite, isn't watching the fight. He's watching the perimeter. Suddenly, a shadow ripples behind him. It's Jan, the Silver Ranger. Jan, the legend himself. He looks smaller in person. Tommy, Saba growls at him. Everyone says that, right before they lose their first stop. In a flash, white light meets silver lighting. The rooftop explodes from the pressure of their energy signatures. Act 7, the World War II. The camera cuts to a wide shot. We see the city. Miles away, the Lost Galaxy team is engaged in a trench warfare-style battle against the Cyclo Rangers. We see the perspective of a grid screen broadcasting to the people of Miramoi. They are screaming for Leo. The scale is horrific. This isn't a tournament, it's an extinction event. Act 8, the Dialogue of Ideals. Back to the Red versus Red fight. Jason and Andros are locked in a power struggle. Souls faces inches apart. Andros, if I win, I can use the wish to bring back Zordon properly, without the action. Jason, you think I don't want that? But you're fighting for a ghost, Andros. You're fighting for the 6 people standing up. That's why it works. Jason's armor begins to glow with the faint, omega red aura. The ground beneath them begins to liquefy from the heat. Act 9, the climax of Episode 2. Jason delivers a brutal power punch, a move learned from his time as the Gold Ranger, straight into Andros' chest. The shockwave shatters every window in the closet. Andros' suit flickers. The stock counter in the sky hums. Warning, in Space Red, critical power level. Before Jason's land finishes work, a massive shadow falls over the street. 10. The cliffhanger. The Astro Delta Megazord, unmanned. CA begins its attempt to protect its Red Ranger. Jason looks up at the skyscraper-sized cliff. Billy. Call it in. The sky rips open. The Dino Megazord hand reaches through the clouds to catch the blow. The emissaries watch from above, their faces unreadable. Blue Emissary. The first Zord has been called. Its scale has changed. Episode 2 ends with the Red Rangers staring each other down as the two massive metal titans begin to grapple above them. Next step.
That was
to episode 3,
like
where the 1v1v1 between Megazords escalates, and the Lost Galaxy team joins the fray from the sewers to flank both Jason and Andros. I'll keep the artifacts out until you get the word.
Yeah, do that, but then add the perspective of 4 different other teams of Rangers we haven't talked about.
Episode 3, Titan's Shadow. Setting, the System of Black Sentinel War Zone. Above the shattered skyscraper, the Astro Delta Megazord and the Dino Megazord are locked in a planetary starting clinch. Below, the ground is vibrating with the march of teams moving toward the sound of the metal gods. Act 1, The Weight of Steel. The episode opens with a low-angle shot from the street. The Dino Megazord's foot crushes a row of abandoned cars. The sound is deafening, a mixture of grinding tectonic plates and shrieking metal. Jason and Andros are forced apart by the gust of wind from the sword stations. Andros, DECA, full power to the Delta thrusters. Question, Jason. Billy, lock the knee joints. Don't let him get the leverage. The animation here is heavy, emphasizing the World War II scale. These are nimble robots. They are walking fortresses. Act 2, Perspective. The professionalism of Lightspeed Rescue. 3 miles away, perched on a bridge overlooking Simple Glass. Carter Bracey, Lightspeed Red, watches through tactical binoculars. His team is in a perfect V formation. Carter, we have two Titan-class assets engaged in the civilian-style sector. High collateral. Dana, status on the civilians? Dana, pink. Sir, this sector is empty, but the shockwaves are destabilizing the adjacent sectors. If those Zords fall, they'll take out the Wild Force teams in the valley. Carter, we don't pick sides. We wait for a tactical opening to neutralize the threat to the grid. Ready to rescue Bird. They are the first responders of the tournament. Cold, efficient, and waiting for the Titans to tire. Act 3. Perspective. The Jungle Fury instinct. In the dark alleys beneath the bridge, the Jungle Fury team moves like predators. Casey, Red Tiger, is crouched on a rusted fire escape, his eyes glowing with the spirit of the tiger. Casey, the metal giants are loud, but I smell something else. Something cold. RJ, Wolf Ranger. That's the in-space team's desperation, kid, and the Mighty Morphin team's pride. It's a messy cocktail. We stay in the shadows until the government and its emissaries drop something worth fighting for. They are the wild cards, watching the soldiers, Lightspeed, and the kings, Mighty Morphin, from the dark. Act 4, the Red versus Red stalemate. Back in the street, Jason and Ambrose.
Why you won't still let me
Jason
do
is
this?
swapped with Power Sword for the legacy. He used to reach the Ambrose spiral state right there. Ambrose, you're fighting for a team that hasn't existed in decades. Jason, and you're fighting for a sister who isn't even in the sector. Focus, Ambrose. Jason tweaked Ambrose's leg, but Ambrose can judge himself into a 360-degree split slash. Act 5, perspective. The Time Force Judgment. Watching from a temporal displacement bubble high above the city, Wes and Jen Scott, Time Force, look at the data streams. Jen, the timeline is fracturing at the point of impact between those swords. If Jason wins here, the prime timeline solidifies. If Ambrose wins, the future becomes dominant. Wes, we're the government of time, Jen. We should intervene. Jen, not yet. The emissaries are watching. If we move too early, we lose our first stop to the law of Cronus, subway tunnels. They've been tracking the MM team from the sewers. Leo, the Quasar Sabers chooses to protect the light. And right now, Nuclear is making darkness. Leo lunges at Jason, while Pat, Galaxy Blue, engages the in-space team. It's a three-way faction war in a single instant. Act 7, the Sakuga Clash. This is the animation. Jason Red versus Ambrose. Red versus Liam Red. Liam brings raw fire element. Ambrose brings high-tech agility. Jason brings the primed veteran experience. The three sabers clash in a triangle of sparks. The screen goes white, then fades into a slow-motion shot of their visors reflecting each other. Liam, one of you is going down. First clock starts now. Act 8, the Zord escalation. The Dino Megazord is punched through a skyscraper by the Astro Delta. The building collapses like a house of cards. The dust cloud covers the three Red Rangers. In the fog, a new sound emerges. A flute. Tommy, Green Ranger, is standing on top of the street. He plays the Dragon Dagger. The Dragon's tail rises from the harbor, smashing through the bridge where Lightspeed rescues Arch. Act 9, Carter's Choice. Carter Grayson falls from the bridge, morphing mid-air. Carter, Lightspeed. Change of plans. Target the Dragonzord. It's a threat to the stability of the sector. Now, Lightspeed Rescue is in the fray, firing their unilasers at the Dragonzord's chest plates. Act 10, the God Group. The blue emissary watches the chaos. 4 teams, then 5, then 6. He was first. The conflict is exponential. Look at the crowd fighting. On the screens in 1993, the parents of the Rangers are crying. On Miranoi, the colony is chanting. On the Time Force era, the police are at a standstill. The pink emissary. They don't realize yet. This is the tournament for the Dragon. This is a color. The footnote. Jason, Leo, and Ambrose are surrounded by a ring of fire. Above them, 4 Megazords are now converging on the same square line. Jason, Zordon, give me strength. Suddenly, the ASWAT SED, Evil, appears in the rooftops, aiming a heavy cannon south of the reservoirs. Episode 3 ends with a wide-angle shot of the city block, about to be vaporized by an orbital strike from the Evil A-Squad. Next step. Do you want to move to episode 4, where the Jungle Fury team finally strikes from the shadows, and we see the first full team stock get wiped out in the explosion?
I want you to start that like a teaser, but then I want you to talk about for other separate teams and what they're doing in the tournament. And then as all of this is taking place, I want you to make the people who are hosting this tournament to make a decree that they're adding everybody 4 extra stocks.
They're still doing the freaking.
Bro, yeah. All kinds of different shit, bro. Now it's Power Rangers.
Cold open. The screen is breaking.
Hopefully Hollywood gets some of this shit and they start writing better
We
movies.
see a close-up of Jason's cracked visor, the red paint scorched black. We see Leo screaming as he thrusts the Quasar Saber into the ground to anchor himself.
The Quasar
Then, the sky
Saber.
turns blinding white.
You said you're
The
going to take a
A-Squad
shower.
SPD orbital strike hits. The city block vanishes in a mushroom cloud of blue ion energy. The grid screens across the multiverse go to static. Mothers scream. Children weep. Then, a voice cuts through the silence. Cold, divine, and absolute. Act 1. The Decree of the Emissaries. The blue emissary stands at the edge of the celestial balcony, its form shimmering. He looks at the government council, the other emissaries. The passions do not. The pink emissary whispers. They are burning through their lives too quickly. The tournament will end before the lesson is learned. The blue emissary raises his hand. Across every screen in the multiverse and every mind on the plateau, the message scrolls. The debt is extended. To test the limits of the soul, all teams are granted 2 additional stocks, 4 lives to give for the grid. Fight until your spirit is transcendent. The Rangers on the ground, reeling from the explosion, feel their power points strong with a second wind. Act 2. Perspective. The RPM Wastelanders. In the Chrome Desert sector, miles away from Jason's firestorm, the RPM Rangers are operating with a risk. They are in a landscape of rusted gears and toxic sand. Scott, RPM Red. 4 lives? Great. That's 3 more times I have to watch this world die. Sticky, gritty. Look on the bright side, boss. It means we can be 3 times as reckless. They are currently being hunted by the Vengeance sentries. Evil. Dylan, Black, is mid-drift in the Wolf Cruiser, firing his scale cannons. They aren't fighting for honor. They're fighting because survival is the only gear they have. Act 3. Perspective. The Mystic Force Council. In the ever-changing forest, the Mystic Force Rangers have turned their sector into a magical fortress.
And I want you to really reinforce that everybody should be at the peak level of the performance of their character. Like everybody at their canonical god tier across the multiverse condensed into one character. And I'm telling you, like, say any ranger can alternate between any other form and ability they had, and
Super Saiyan God Pikachu.
your ADHD is showing.
Well done.
Condensed. So everybody's initial end for their character, if they ever reach the end or whatever the original established end is. I saw a Stu. It is the lore of their character.
I got you.
Here's a fight. Need some cash. Catch that. Need some cash. Need some cash. Need midnight rounds. Here's a fight. Need some cash.
So 4. The Apotheosis Protocol, the teaser, the Eye of the Storm. The screen is a strobe light of violence. Jason's Omega Red Blade clashing with Leo's Quasar Saber, the Astro Delta Megazord reeling his...
And remember, I want everybody to work through their base forms all the way up into their god tier forms. Like this was an episode of Dragon Ball Z, and I want that to be applied to everybody as a character until I say otherwise. Nice execution.
Episode 4. The Ascendant Protocol, the teaser, the Eye of the Storm. The screen is a strobe light of violence. We see a split-second montage. Jason's Omega Red Blade clashing with Leo's Quasar Fire. Tommy's Dragonzord roaring as it's bombarded. 1. The Divine Decree. High above the burning sector of glass, the emissaries shimmer. The new emissary raises a hand, and the very air of the council vibrates. The fighting below freezes for a heartbeat as a voice resonates inside every ranger's helmet. The decree, asterisk. Your spirits are too vast for 2 lives. To find the true apex, the threshold is raised. Every warrior is granted 4 stops. Reach your zenith. Show us the limit of the grid. Across the multiverse, the crowds in the town squares roar. The stakes didn't just double. The safety inhibitors are gone. Act 2, perspective. The SPD Shadow Strike. In the Neotech sector, miles from the Red Ranger melee, the SPD B-Squad, Bridge, Sky, Sed, Z, and Sam, is operating like a high-end SWAT team. They are in base form, moving through the rain-slicked streets. Sky, blue. We're being watched by the whole galaxy, Kruger. We stay by the book. Jack, red. The book just got rewritten, Sky. Look, they are intercepted by the Psycho Rangers. Psycho moves with jagged, glitchy speed. The SPD team engages in a high choreography tactical retreat, using their unique DNA powers, phasing force field, to counter the Psycho's raw aggression. Act 3, perspective, the Wild Force Primal War. In the Green Canopy sector, a massive floating jungle, the Wild Force team is fighting for their lives against the Ninja Storm Rangers. It's the ultimate contrast.
She ain't even attacked nobody, she just took off.
Cole, Wild Force Red, is in a feral stance, sensing Shane, Ninja Storm Red, in the trees. Shane, you're all hearts, flying hearts, but you can't hit what you can't see. Cole, the Earth tells me where you land. Cole roars, his base form muscles surging, as he prepares to transition into his Savage Main power-up. Act 4, perspective. The Mystic Force incantation. In the Arcane Spire, the Mystic team begins a slow burn transformation. It's not a flash, it's a ritual. Their fates flow with magical fire as they move from their base civilian hybrid forms into their legend warrior states. Act 5, perspective. The RPM post-apocalyptic grit. In a desert wasteland of rusted gears, Scott, RPM Red, and Dylan, Black, are being hunted by the A-Squad Blue and Green. Dylan, I'm at 40% shield capacity. These guys are fighting like they've got nothing to lose. Scott, that's because they don't. They're the government that went wrong. We're the ones who survived the end of the war. Level up now. They trigger their burst modes, their suits venting steam as their internal processors overclock to match the A-Squad's future tech. Act 6. The Dragon Ball style chart. Back at the main intersection, Jason, Andros, and Leo stand in a triangle. The A-Squad's orbital strike hits the shield of the sector, but the Rangers don't run. They begin to power up. The animation goes full Fukuda. The ground begins to rise. Small pebbles float into the air. Jason. Pop! His base red suit begins to crackle. Red lightning arcs off his head, carving deep grooves into the asphalt. He is skipping his...
They would just fucking listen from the start. That would not even be a possibility.
The evolution of the legend. Tommy, Dragonzord, sees the A-Squad's second strike coming. He clicks his master morpher. Tommy, White Ranger, Zeo, Turbo, Dino Black. He cycles through the forms so fast, he appears as a blur of multicolored light. He settles into his White Ranger form, but the Saba sword grows in size, glowing with a divine, golden aura. He is tapping into the white light of creation. Act 8, the host's dialogue. The blue emissary turns to the red emissary. You gave them 4 stocks. You're inviting them to destroy the map itself. No, the red emissary responds. I'm inviting them to become what they were always meant to be. Look at Jason. He isn't just a man anymore. He is the pulse of the red. Act 9, the clash of the ascended. Jason lunges. He isn't running. He's teleporting via short-range energy bursts. He hits the A Squad red so hard, the shockwave clears the fog for 5 miles. Andros triggers his red battle warrior armor, his wings unfolding like a phoenix made of circuitry.
Yo, hold the fuck up.
Leo triggers his Orion armor, his Quasar saber becoming a claymore of white-hot plasma. The 3 of them, now in their mid to high tier forms, attack the A Squad and the Psycho Rangers simultaneously. Act 10, the cliffhanger. As the battle reaches a fever pitch, a rift opens in the center of the street. It's not an artifact. It's a person. Lord Drakon walks out. But he is in his god form. He is in his base form, the green/white hybrid. He looks at the chaos, the Megazord, and the Ascended Jason. Drakon. 4 thoughts? Good. I'll go form 4 times, Jason. He raises his hand, and the Black Dragon Zord begins to phase into reality right away, eclipsing the sun. Episode 4 ends with the main theme kicking in, a heavy, cinematic metal version, as Jason and Drakon lock eyes for the first time. Next up, do you want to move to episode 5, where we focus on the Wild Force versus Ninja Storm Jungle War and the SPD versus Psycho's tactical battle?
Yeah, do that, and then I want you to do the perspective of 4 other teams. And now...
Episode 5, The Zenith Ascent, the teaser, the global gaze. The screen cuts rapidly between different planets across the multiverse. On Miranoi, the villagers are huddled around a glowing quasar crystal. On Aquitar, the inhabitants are submerged in viewing chambers. They are all watching the same thing, their champions bleeding for the fate of the grid, the blue emissary.
About the council.
The crowd cheers for the They are beginning to realize that every stop lost is a piece of their soul being written. Act 1, Perspective. The Wild Force versus Ninja Storm, Jungle War. In the green canopy, the air is thick with humidity and the smell of ozone. Cole, Wild Force Red, is locked in a mid-air struggle with Shane, Ninja Storm Red. Cole, you move with the wind, but the earth is stronger. Shane, the wind doesn't break Cole. It just shifts. Shane uses a wind wall to blast Cole backward, but Cole digs his claws into a massive redwood tree. He begins to power up. His muscles expand, his suit glowing with a trident of gold. He transitions into the Animarium armor. Across from him, Shane doesn't flinch. He pulls his Battleizer trigger, his armor shifting into the Tri-Battleizer armor. They are no longer ninjas or rangers. They are aerial combatants tearing through the canopy like fighter jets. Act 2, Perspective. The SPD versus Psycho standoff. In the Neotech sector, the SPD B-Squad has hit a wall. Psycho Blue has hacked their communication frequency. Sky Blue. He's in our heads, Kruger. I can't lock on. Jack, Red. Forget the tech. Use the DNA. Jack uses his phasing ability to pass through a solid steel wall, appearing behind Psycho Blue. He grabs the monster and sleep holds, but Psycho Blue erupts with electrical discharge. Jack screams, his suit smoking, but he holds on. Rich, Green, uses the psychometry to track the Psycho's next move. This is a high-level chess match, played with plasma and blood. Screen, Perspective, the Beast Morphers, in the Weird Energy Refinery, the Beast Morphers, virus influencing the history. They have to use the Beast X mode. They trigger the Beast X visors. The animation slows down as Devin's cheetah speed engages. He sees the Silver and Gold Rangers as static images. He strikes, but steel appearance with a metallic limb. The sparks from their blades ignite the spilled Morph X on the floor, turning the refinery into a blue fire inferno. Act 4, Perspective, Dino Charge Extinction. In the volcanic crater, Tyler, Dino Charge Red, and Ivan, Gold, are surrounded by the Ace
there's a power engine in
Tyler, you guys are supposed to be the law. Why are you with Drakon? A-Squad